146. 146 times. A number that echoes in the silence, a haunting refrain that whispers of a life brutally extinguished. 8 years old. Just a child, on the cusp of 1,000 adventures, dreams yet to be dreamed. But for Markie Mason, those dreams were shattered, extinguished with a ferocity that defies comprehension. In the quiet town of New Castle, Pennsylvania, a shadow fell. A darkness that crept into the heart of a home, a darkness that whispered promises of destruction. On the surface, life in the Mason household appeared ordinary. A mother, her son, a semblance of normalcy. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. A storm of violence, of rage, of a love twisted and corrupted. This is the story of Markie Mason, a story of innocence lost, a story that will haunt this community, and perhaps all of us, forever. Markie Mason, Jr. The name itself evokes a sense of innocence, of boundless potential. He was a whirlwind of energy, a tiny human tornado who brought joy wherever he went. His laughter, a contagious melody that filled every room, was a constant in the small Pennsylvania town of New Castle. With eyes that sparkled like the summer sky and a smile that could melt the coldest heart, Markie was the embodiment of pure, unadulterated joy. His days were a kaleidoscope of wonder. Cartoons flickered on the television, his tiny hands mimicking the acrobatic feats of his favorite superheroes. He'd spend hours lost in a world of imagination, capes swirling, and imaginary villains vanquished with a triumphant shout. But amidst the fantastical play, there was a grounded sweetness to Markie. He'd help his mother in the kitchen, his small hands stirring the pot, his brow furrowed in concentration as he attempted to mimic her culinary creations. Markie's father, though no longer a constant presence in his life, held a special place in his heart. He would often talk about his dad, his eyes lighting up as he described his playful antics and the exciting adventures they would share when he was older. He dreamed of becoming a firefighter, a hero in his own right, rescuing cats from trees and battling imaginary blazes with a fire hose made of his imagination. He yearned for adventure, for the day he'd finally be tall enough to ride the biggest roller coaster at Kennywood. His mother, a woman of strength and resilience, had fled the turmoil of Syria, seeking a better life for herself and her young son. The journey was arduous, filled with uncertainty and fear. She arrived in the United States, a stranger in a strange land, carrying the weight of her past and the hopes of a brighter future for her son. In this new land, she found love, a love that blossomed amidst the challenges of building a new life. Markie's father, with his kind eyes and gentle spirit, brought warmth and stability to their lives. They built a small world of their own, filled with laughter, shared meals, and the promise of a bright future. But as often happens, life's path can be unpredictable. The love that once bloomed faded, leaving behind a single mother struggling to navigate the complexities of raising a child alone. The separation from his father was a difficult period for Markie. He missed his playful wrestling matches and the bedtime stories whispered in his ear. Yet, his mother's love was a constant, a beacon of light in the face of change. She poured all her love into Markie, her son, her sunshine. She worked tirelessly, striving to provide him with a life filled with love and opportunity. She cherished every moment with him, every giggle, every milestone. Markie was her world, her reason for fighting, for persevering. But the idyllic picture of their lives, this fragile tapestry of love and hope, was about to be shattered. Into this fragile world of mother and son, a shadow began to creep. Keith Burley, A man shrouded in darkness entered their lives. Burley, a convicted felon with a history of violence, had a penchant for the macabre, a fascination with the darkest corners of the human psyche. He had served time for violent offenses, his past marked by aggression and instability. Burley's path crossed with Markie's mother through an unlikely channel, a prison pen pal website. He presented himself as a changed man, a soul yearning for redemption, seeking solace and companionship. He painted a picture of a lonely heart seeking solace, a man eager to build a meaningful connection. Markie's mother, yearning for connection and stability, found herself drawn to Burley's words. He was attentive, charming, a skilled manipulator who expertly played upon her vulnerabilities. He presented himself as a beacon of hope, a potential source of stability for her and her son. But there were red flags, subtle tremors in the ground that went unnoticed. There were whispers in the community about Burley's past, hushed conversations about his violent tendencies. But these warnings were often dismissed as gossip, brushed aside as the anxieties of a small town. Burley, with his calculated charm and manipulative tactics, skillfully ingratiated himself into their lives. He presented himself as a harmless figure, a friend to Markie, a potential father figure. He would spend time with them, offering gifts, playing with Markie, creating an illusion of normalcy. But beneath the surface, a darkness lurked, a simmering rage, a volatile temper, a mind twisted by a history of violence. These were the facets of Burley that remained hidden, concealed beneath a carefully constructed facade of normalcy. And as Burley's presence in their lives grew stronger, the shadows began to lengthen, casting an ominous pall over their once peaceful world. The facade of normalcy began to crumble. The charming facade that Burley had so carefully constructed began to crack, revealing the darkness within. Arguments erupted, fueled by Burley's volatile temper and his growing obsession with controlling every aspect of Moram's life. The atmosphere in the home became heavy, suffocating. Fear began to seep into the corners, casting long, ominous shadows. Markie, once a whirlwind of energy, grew withdrawn, his laughter replaced by a quiet sadness. The tension escalated. The arguments grew louder. The fear grew deeper. One night, the storm broke. A heated argument erupted at a local gas station. Voices rose, tempers flared. And then, Keith said 4 chilling words that would haunt Moram forever. "I'm kidnapping the children. Do you think it's okay for Moram to accept Keith in the first place? Let's know in the comments section." The ensuing struggle was a terrifying display of violence. Burley, fueled by rage, unleashed his fury upon Moram. The gas station, once a place of routine, became a scene of terror. Screams, struggles, the terrified cries of children. In a desperate attempt to escape the violence, Moram fled the scene, leaving her children with Burley. She believed she was protecting them. She believed she was keeping them safe, but she had no idea of the horror that awaited them. As Moram fled, a chilling realization dawned upon her. She had made a terrible mistake, a mistake that would have devastating consequences. The scene of the crime was a chilling tableau of violence. The small, once peaceful home was now a canvas of horror. Blood, a crimson stain on the pale carpet, painted a macabre picture of the unimaginable events that had transpired. Markie, his small body lifeless, lay sprawled on the floor. 146 times. 146 times the blade had found its mark. Each wound a testament to the brutal, senseless violence that had extinguished his young life. His younger brother, witnessing the horrific scene, was frozen in terror. his screams muffled by the weight of the unimaginable. He watched in horror as his brother's lifeblood seeped into the carpet, his cries for help swallowed by the silence of the night. The silence was shattered by the frantic dialing of 911. "Operator, 911. What is your emergency?" Caller, gasping, voice trembling. "Please help. My brother, he's hurt." Operator, "Calm down, ma'am. Where is this happening?" Caller, sobbing. "My house. He's bleeding." Operator, "What happened?" Caller, through sobs. "Keith, he stabbed him." Operator, "Who is Keith?" Caller, "My mom's boyfriend. He's gone crazy." The 911 call, a desperate plea for help, echoed through the night, a chilling testament to the horror that had unfolded within the walls of that seemingly ordinary home. The young brother, his mind reeling from the horror he had witnessed, managed to escape the house and seek help from a bewildered neighbor. The neighbor, alerted to the terrifying scene, immediately contacted emergency services. A wave of law enforcement descended upon the quiet neighborhood, their sirens wailing a mournful counterpoint to the silence that had fallen over the House of Horrors. The search for Keith Burley was launched, a relentless pursuit across the state. The manhunt was a tense affair, a game of cat and mouse played out across a vast landscape. Law enforcement agencies, utilizing every available resource, scoured the region, following every lead, chasing every whisper of information. Days turned into nights, the pressure mounting with each passing hour. The community held its breath, gripped by a sense of fear and uncertainty. After 9 long hours, Keith Burley finally made one crucial mistake. A minor traffic violation, a routine check, and the net tightened. Surrounded by law enforcement officers, Keith Burley was apprehended, brought to justice for the horrific crime he had committed. Do you think Keith should have ever been released from prison? Let's hear your view in the comments section. The arrest brought a temporary sense of relief to the community, a small measure of justice for the innocent life that had been so tragically taken. But the pain and sorrow caused by his actions would linger for years to come, a constant reminder of the darkness that can sometimes consume even the quietest of communities. The trial was a harrowing ordeal. Keith Burley, in a bizarre display of defiance, chose to represent himself, further shocking the community. He rambled incoherently, making bizarre accusations and offering nonsensical defenses. His courtroom behavior was erratic and unsettling, leaving the jury and observers alike deeply disturbed. The testimonies of Markie's family members were heart-wrenching. His younger brother, his voice trembling with fear and grief, recounted the horrifying events of that night, his words painting a vivid and disturbing picture of the violence. Markie's mother, her voice choked with sobs, described her son as a ray of sunshine, her world now forever shattered. His father, his face etched with grief, spoke of the dreams that would never be realized, the future stolen from his beloved son. The jury, visibly shaken by the overwhelming evidence and the emotional testimony, deliberated for a mere 15 minutes. A hushed silence fell over the courtroom as they awaited the verdict. August of 2023, he Burley, a former convicted felon, was found guilty of both second- and first-degree murder. This 47-year-old child killer was subsequently sentenced to 2 life terms in prison that would run concurrently, and without the possibility of parole. Mary's death sent shockwaves through Newcastle and eventually the nation as a whole, while Mary's mother, Moram, is certainly one of the countless victims of Keith Burley's violence. One can't help but wonder how or why did she generally welcome a convicted killer into her home and around her children. A wave of relief washed over the community, a small measure of justice served. Throughout the trial, Burley remained unrepentant, displaying a chilling lack of remorse for his actions. He offered no apology, no expression of regret, only a chilling indifference to the pain and suffering he had caused. The trial, while bringing a semblance of justice, could not erase the pain and suffering that had been inflicted. Markie Mason, Jr., a vibrant young boy filled with dreams and laughter, was gone forever. His tragic death served as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of violence. The aftermath of Markie's murder cast a long shadow over the community. His death left an undeniable void, a gaping hole in the hearts of his family, friends, and the entire community. Markie's school, once filled with the sounds of children's laughter, was now a somber place, a constant reminder of the tragedy that had befallen their young classmate. Markie's family was left to grapple with an unimaginable loss. His mother, her world shattered, struggled to cope with the loss of her beloved son. His father, consumed by grief and anger, sought solace in memories, clinging to the fleeting moments he had shared with his son. Markie's younger brother, traumatized by the horrific events he had witnessed, lived with the constant reminder of the violence that had stolen his brother's life. The community rallied around the grieving family, offering support and solace in their time of need. Vigils were held, attended by hundreds of community members, their candles flickering in the darkness, a testament to the profound impact Markie had on their lives. Flowers, teddy bears, and heartfelt messages adorned the front lawn of the family home, a poignant display of love and support. In the wake of this tragedy, the community demanded action. Out of the darkness of this horrific event, a beacon of hope emerged. Inspired by Markie's memory, a group of dedicated individuals spearheaded a movement to reform the state's parole system. They advocated for stricter regulations, ensuring that dangerous offenders remained behind bars, protecting innocent lives. The result of their tireless efforts was Markie's Law, a piece of legislation aimed at preventing similar tragedies. This landmark legislation, named in honor of the young boy whose life was so tragically cut short, strengthened parole regulations, ensuring that violent offenders served longer sentences, reducing the risk of them reoffending. Years later, Markie's name continues to be remembered. His story serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences of violence. In the quiet corners of the community, whispers of Markie's name still evoke a sense of sadness and a renewed commitment to protecting children. His memory lives on, a poignant reminder of the importance of love, compassion, and the fight against violence. Markie Mason, Jr., a vibrant young boy with a contagious laugh and a heart full of dreams, may be gone, but his spirit lives on, inspiring change and reminding us all of the preciousness of every child's life. The Markie Mason case serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking within our communities. It highlights the devastating impact of domestic violence and the importance of recognizing and addressing the warning signs. It underscores the flaws within the criminal justice system and the need for constant vigilance to prevent such tragedies from occurring again. This case compels us to question our own assumptions, to challenge complacency, and to actively work towards a safer future for our children. We must be vigilant in identifying and reporting signs of abuse, support victims and their families, and advocate for stronger measures to protect the most vulnerable members of our society. Markie Mason, Jr., a vibrant young boy filled with dreams and laughter, was tragically taken from this world. His story is a sad warning that pure evil can sometimes lie in plain sight. Let his memory serve as a beacon of hope, a catalyst for change, and a constant reminder of the importance of protecting the innocence of childhood. Markie dreamed of being a hero. In his final moments, he fought with everything he had. Let his story serve as a reminder that true evil often hides in plain sight, and that even in the face of unimaginable horror, there is always hope for justice and the strength to overcome unimaginable loss. What could have been done to protect Markie? Comment below. Your thoughts matter. If you want more true crime stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated.